The first time, I remember specifically not getting arrested. I was 15, and I shoplifted marshmallows. Marshmallows are not an easy thing to shoplift to begin with. They're a big, pillow-sized white thing. Harder in my case because I was wearing a tiny little leather jacket that I inherited from my grandfather. I thought it looked cool. I thought it made me look like one of the Ramones. Spoiler alert, it did not make me look like one of the Ramones. But it did make it very hard to steal marshmallows. You may be thinking to yourself, Keith, why? Why would you try to steal a big pillow-sized sugary confection wearing a tiny little jacket? It's because I was arrogant. I was overly confident of my ability to steal from that Bel Air. Because I stole from them every single Sunday. For months, I went in there and I stole donuts. And it was easy. You just walk up to the donut counter and you say, hey, I would like a dozen donuts. And then you pick out each of the dozen donuts. And some kid puts them in a bright pink box for you. And then he gives you a free one. Because that's a policy. When you steal 12 donuts from a place, they give you a 13th one free. Call it a stealer's dozen or something, I don't know. But then the kid will close up the box and they'll say to you, you want me to ring you up here or take it to the register? And I go, I better take it to the register, you know. Whenever I tell my mom I'm coming here, out comes the list. You know how it is, buddy. You gotta make the small talk. And they just hand you the donuts, assuming you're gonna go pay for them, because how brazen would you have to be to make a kid box up the donuts that you're stealing from them in a bright pink box? And then you take it and you walk right past all the registers and they all look at you. All the cashiers look at you. You say hi to them. They know you. They see you every Sunday. Like, what's up, Tom? How's the wife? And they assume you paid for them, because how brazen would you have to have some kid box up a dozen donuts that you're stealing from them? It's a free tip from you on how to get free donuts. Then you take them to your friend Jim's house and his parents think you're the sweetest kid around, because you bring donuts every Sunday when you come over to play his Nintendo. Worked out well for everybody. So I'm arrogant, I get the marshmallows on this occasion. I might have had a problem with sugar. I get the marshmallows in my little jacket, they're sticking halfway out, and I start making my way towards the door. And I see the undercover security. And he's standing at the door blocking it, which is insulting. Because that's not normally what they do. Normally they want to catch you. So they just hang out by the door looking nonchalant. If you ever see an adult man paying way too much attention to those little quarter machines with the stretchy hands, that's undercover security, waiting for someone to try to leave. Because you haven't stolen until you leave, okay? There's no crime against putting stuff in your pocket. The crime is only when you walk out the door. This is handy information. The next time you go shopping, wear something with a lot of pockets. It's fun. And as you walk around, you just put everything from your list in one of the pockets. And then you go up to the register. And as you start unloading that on the thing, you'll hear like 6 different voices go, damn it! Because you just wasted a whole line of undercover security's time. And you kept them busy, while people that needed to shoplift are able to ply their trade. Again, we can be helpers. But in this case, the guy's blocking the door, and he looks me right in the eye and he shakes his head no, because he doesn't want to be the guy that busts this special little kid that's trying to steal marshmallows while wearing a tiny little jacket. He's like, no. But I've got momentum. So I walk right around him, and I go out the other door. And I hear him go, oh! And he comes out and he grabs me and he pulls me in, takes the marshmallows from me, and they bring me back to the manager's office. I don't know if you've ever seen a grocery store manager's office, but there are no windows. It's a very depressing place. The manager comes in wearing a suit that I'm sure fit him at one time. As he comes in, he says, listen, kid, we're going to do you a favor. we're not going to call the police. And I stand up, I say, thank you so much. I really appreciate that, sir. Never going to do it again. I'm going to stop stealing donuts, too. What? No, nothing. I didn't say anything. He says, yeah, we're not going to call the cops, but we are going to call your parents. So I said, is the cop thing still on the table? Could we talk about this? Because my mom is going to be very disappointed. I had one of those Catholic moms. Yeah, but I hear that about every mom. You're like, oh, Irish moms, oh, Mexican moms. I think maybe just all moms are good at guilting. Maybe that's not a cultural signifier. Maybe there's one cultural group out there that their moms aren't good at guilting. Maybe it's the Norwegians. Maybe that's why they like that black metal. I don't know. But my mom she was very good at guilting. So the manager calls my mom. All the employees are taking turns peeking in the office. They're like, that's the kid, that's the marshmallow guy. They're like, yeah, that's him. I'm like, his jacket's so tiny. Manager walks me out front to wait for my mom. She pulls up in the white van. He puts me in the van. My mom says, thank you. She's humiliated. We drive home in silence. That's when I know I'm in trouble, because she's not going to let me have it. She's going to wait and let Dad let me have it. And I'm of a generation that meant I was going to get beat. We got beat. I'm not saying it's a good thing. It's just what happened. I hate when members of my generation try to use that as an excuse for hitting their kids. Like, we got hit, remember? We got hit. You gotta hit your kid. We got hit. And then I have to explain to them that we are not what I'm aiming for. At all. Never looked at us and went, that went pretty good. Let's do that again. Never look around the world and go, we better not change anything. This is going so well. Just stay the course. And I felt for my father, too. I felt bad for my dad, because the guy worked 8 hours a day. He had up to a 2-hour commute both ways. He comes home, he just wants to go in the nice living room where the kids aren't allowed and read his Stephen King, And no, there's mom waiting with a shopping list of boys he has to beat, He comes home, she tells him about the marshmallows. I hear him coming to my room. I'm like, oh. My dad opens the door and he says 2 words. That's not true, he says 1 word, but he says it twice. He says, marshmallows? Marshmallows. His heavy Brooklyn accent. See, my mom was more concerned about the morality of these things, but my father was always much more concerned about the stupidity. My dad says to me, Keith, marshmallows have no resale value. Jewelry, I'd understand. Money, I would understand. Marshmallows? I was like, sorry, Dad, I'll do better next time. That's not what I'm saying. And you know it. That's when I started laughing. Not because of my hilarious joke, but because I am a nervous laugher. I've always been a nervous laugher. I laugh when there's confrontation. It's gotten me into trouble, it's gotten me out of trouble. Luckily, my dad was cool. When he heard me laugh, he would say, I know that you're just laughing because you're nervous, and you should be, because you're in deep doo-doo. And he would just go on with the scolding. My dad's sitting there trying to figure out why his supposedly gifted 15-year-old is so stupid. And that's when he looks at my bed, and he sees something that catches his eye, and he looks back at me and he goes, tell me you weren't wearing the little jacket. Oh my God, you were wearing the little jacket. He was wearing the little jacket. Now I've got to answer him. I've got to give him an explanation why I did something so stupid. And I said, Dad, it was a dare. He said, what? I said, it was a dare. We were playing truth or dare. That's why the little jacket. That's why marshmallows. It was intentionally something very difficult. That's how dares work. To which my dad said, that's stupid. But he said, that's stupid, with a little hint of, that's an acceptable 15-year-old level of stupid. And I knew that he was okay with it. And he said, we'll talk about this more later, which always meant that we wouldn't talk about it more later. And he shut the door. And to this day, I've never admitted to my father that there was no dare. No, there were just 2 15-year-old boys who had a really bad case of the munchies and decided they absolutely must have Rice Krispie treats. And you see, Jim had the Rice Krispies. All right, I'll tell you about one more time I was not arrested. A little bit later, I was 16, and I had a friend named Andy who was 30. You guys got real judgmental real quick. And I understand, because that's exactly how my dad felt. I was like, Dad, Andy's cool. He's got a lot of hip-hop records. My dad was like, Andy's not cool. Andy is the Fonz. And I went, oh my God, you just named the coolest person in the world. And he said, no, you just think that because you're young. The Fonzie is a dude that puts on a leather jacket and hangs out with teenagers. That's not a cool adult. Cool adults hang out with other adults. I was like, you don't know anything. I went to Andy's house, and Andy let me have a beer. And me and Ryan drank beer, and Andy played Too Short, and it was cool. And then I started to notice that Andy was having an episode, or he was on something. He was acting very weird. And then the downstairs neighbor knocked on Andy's floor, which was his ceiling. I don't know if you know this, but one man's ceiling is another man's floor. And we hear the knocking. I said, Andy, I think he wants you to turn down the Too Short. And Andy goes, no. He's cool, I'll go talk to him. And I was like, Andy, I don't think you're in a state to go talk to him. And Andy goes, I'll go talk to him, it'll be fine. And he walks downstairs, and me and Ryan are like, oh, I wonder how this is gonna work out. And then we hear yelling. And then we hear a tussle. And then Andy comes running back in the apartment with his hair disheveled, his shirt is torn. And Andy yells, I'm gonna stab a fool! And he runs to his kitchen, and he pulls open the knife drawer, and he yanks out a knife. Problem is, Andy didn't have a stab a fool knife. Andy had a very long, serrated, slice some bread knife. Andy had a, I'm gonna slice up a fool. I'm gonna kill a fool very messily kind of knife. And he ran back out the door, and I turned to Ryan and I said, I don't know what to do. And Ryan said, we should leave. And I said, we can't go home, we drank a beer. And Ryan says, we'll go to the gas station, because that's what teenagers did then. So we go to leave, and then we hear the sirens coming down the street, and we jump back in the apartment. Oh no, the cops are coming. They're gonna know we had a beer. So we don't know what to do. Andy's still downstairs, the cops are on the way, we're trapped in the apartment, and then the guest room door opens. The guest room door had never opened. We didn't know that Andy had a roommate. And this guy that looked like he had been asleep in there since 1969, like Hip Van Winkle, comes walking out, and he sees me and Ryan, and he goes, you, come with me. And he walks back in the room, and Ryan and I followed a barefooted adult into his bedroom because it felt like the safest course of action at the time. He shuts the door. That wasn't comforting. And then we look, and he has all these guitars on his wall. And he takes one down, and he hands it to Ryan. He takes another one down, and he hands it to me. And then he takes down a third one, and he pulls up a stool. I was like, he has a stool in his room. I started to realize this room was like his gig. Like, he had a residency there, you know? It's where he played every night. And he strums the guitar. Now, I'm not a great singer, but the song that he sang went something like this. We don't know nothing about that noise out there. We're just in here having a guitar lesson. And just then the door opened, and there was a cop. Yeah, the most terrifying thing a 16-year-old who just had a beer could possibly see. He's standing there with a badge and the gun and the whole thing. And he says, what's going on in here? And the hippie looks up at him and says, we don't know nothing about that noise out there. And then me and Ryan sang the chorus, we're just in here having a guitar lesson. Perfectly synchronized. caught the cop's attention, and he looks over at us, and we're both holding guitars. We have no idea how to hold a guitar. But that made sense. That's why we were getting the lesson. Cop looks back at the hippie who shrugs. Like, kids, right? Cop says, all right, you guys have a good night, and he shuts the door. But then the hippie looks at both of us, and I'm thinking, oh no, it's time to pay the piper. And he says, both of you. And he twists his hand into this weird, uncomfortable looking claw. And he says, that's an A chord.